we make you laugh? Aren't we fucking funny?
Does that sound fine?
What's the boogeyman?
Welcome back, folks, to the Moonjuice Horror Metal Podcast, the podcast where we live and breathe heavy metal and horror, but are not afraid to shit all over both of them. I'm Matt.
I am Fabian. Hello.
So, as promised, this is our 10th episode, and we told you guys we wanted to start bringing on metal musicians to kind of talk about their favorite movie, go through it with us, hilariously or not hilariously. If it's a serious movie, then we'll try to be as serious as we can without destroying the damn thing.
Yeah.
And if it's just ridiculous, we're going to say whatever we think, but it is what it is. Fabian Jiru is from Trollfest and Fleshmeadow, two metal bands straight out of Norway, right? Fabian's been a good buddy of ours for a while. We actually got to share the stage with him at Midgårdsblod, which was freaking amazing.
That was awesome, yeah.
The one for the
And
books.
it's always easier with these kind of things to like get, if you're in the metal community, you've got people that you know in metal bands, and then you've got friends that are in big bands that you know.
Yeah.
But because they're friends, you figure they're going to go a little bit easier on you than everybody else is if you don't really know them all that well. So that's why Fabian's not first. So hopefully he'll be like a little bit forgiving of us for trashing his film. Which film are we doing today, Fabian?
We're
We
doing
are-
The Witch today.
Yes, we are doing the witch.
And possibly Fabian might hate us after this episode.
Yeah, no, the thing is, I didn't choose my favorite horror movie. I didn't quite catch that. I thought I'd choose that one because it's one of the most recent ones I watched, and I thought it had some pretty interesting things in it. It's been like a month since I watched it now, so let's see where this leads. But
That's okay. We
Okay.
freshly watched it last night, so it's
definitely some I'm a huge religion nerd, and the like religious themes in that one pretty strong.
Yeah, I mean it's heavy. I mean it's heavy religious.
Yeah.
The movie, no?
I think
So,
that's kind of the draw of this film, though. Like,
Yeah.
Robert Eggers doesn't really play around with religion too much, but this was one of his first films, and he did that, and it works really well for this. Even though, I mean, I have to say, there's not a whole lot that happens in this film, but when things do happen, it's thought-provoking, and it kind of gets your gears going a little bit about, hey, what was it probably like at this time for
and
these
most of
people?
it is kind of like ambiguous and more double-edged in a way. Like, does it mean this or this? And then you filter it through also this, like, is there something being told in this movie, or should we watch it from one of the character standpoints, or like, yeah, there's a lot to.
Well,
A lot of different ways you can interpret
said,
it, definitely.
When you originally said you wanted to do this, and I was like, oh, there's a lot of ways that you can kind of look at this film and say, okay, is what I'm seeing really what's happening, or is this kind of a delusion? We'll get into all that because it is one of those films. First thing I want to talk about is you, though. So
I love that topic.
Yeah, we got you, dude. Like I've been seeing about this episode. So here's the weird thing about Fabian, right? The two bands that he's known for, one of them's Fleshmeadow, which if I kind of, I'm a huge fan, have been for years. But if I kind of had to say what I thought this band was, it would kind of verge on like technical black metal. Is kind of about where I would consider the music kind of stands, but other people have their own view. It's a very dark music style with very dark themes that are very deep and somewhat could be looked at as somewhat personal. Very, very dark, heavy stuff. And then on the other side, you're in Trollfest, which, if you don't know who Trollfest is, come out from underneath your rock. But secondly, go check them out. These guys are absolutely insane. Like, the stage show is insane. If you, in my opinion, like, there are a lot of bands who do funny stuff on stage, us included. Texas Cornflake Massacre tries to do goofy things on stage. You guys take it to a whole nother level and kind of like, it would be, if you're going to go silly, go really silly. don't just be silly. Like, just take it up, take it as far as you can go with it. And that's kind of what you get with Trollfest on stage. So how do you feel about that dynamic between the two bands, and how do you deal with that, dude?
Yeah, you know this already. We have been talking like me and Matt go way back. By the way, for those who don't know, it's like 10 years now, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, that dynamic is definitely something very strange because I started out like most. I'm a fucking metalhead. I like dark shit. I like heavy shit. So I started out like as a death metal kid in different like more techy. I'm kind of a tech death guy. I really love that shit. So that's kind of my origin at least. And then I joined Fleshmeadow. Yeah, that's quite some time ago now. It's like 2012.
It would have been
Oh,
like something like almost 12 years, right?
I don't remember. Yeah, it's a long time ago. So I've been doing that for quite some time, and it's very, as you said, like very dark music, and it gets very personal at times because it's been with me through some really fundamental times. And then I joined Trollfest in 2019 after the Fleshmeadow has been going and has had 2 releases at this point. And yeah, it's quite the opposite. When I joined Trollfest, I've been a Trollfest fan actually since 2004 when they started out. So I was very familiar with their stuff and I knew it was pretty silly. When I joined, they were about to release a record called Norwegian Fairy Tales.
Yeah.
And Trollfest has always been known for like silly stage attires and a little bit of stage presence that goes along with that.
Yeah, Pink Flamingo.
We're not there yet. When I started out, and I came from Fleshmeadow, and like Trollfest wasn't that flamingo level yet. Like we were
I
peaked
mean,
there, but
when you started with them, I had seen them one time before, and it was at Midgard's Blood, and it was right before you were with them, and it wasn't the first
a
time I'd
couple of
heard of
years.
them. It wasn't the first time I'd heard of them, but it was the first time I saw them, and they were probably at that time the silliest fucking act I had ever seen in metal. Like, silly as fuck. Instrumentally, and this hasn't changed at all. Instrumentally and just composition wise, very composed. There's a shit ton going on in the music. It's not just like you see silly bands out there. I'm not going to name any, but you see silly bands out there that are just there to be silly. No, they're just there to be silly, right? And so they do a silly thing on stage, and the music is pretty simple. Like, you've got a riff here and there, and then drums and bass, and it's pretty elementary.
Like
in
Spanky
ways.
Ham.
Huh?
The Spanky Ham. Heard of the band?
No.
That's pretty much like them. Basically typical death metal, but yeah, they often did our entire artworks are basically just pigs and ham somehow.
So now I'm gonna have to check those guys out.
Isn't this kind of like exactly the root of the thing? That's like, how is it with those dynamics between like the really dark shit and the really funny shit? But all metalheads have that, or a lot of metalheads have that. Like, we really like hilarious stuff, and we
Yeah.
also like that darkness, and therefore
Well,
also this theme with
true.
horror movies and all of that goes along
Well,
with
I mean,
that.
we get into that kind of discussion on here quite a bit, just because I think there's an idea of what your average person thinks heavy metal is. Even if it's somebody who likes heavy metal but might not be into it quite like we are, they think it's all death, destruction, dark music, that kind of thing. But once you
I
get
like
into
that,
it, and
but
I love that too. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's
I
definitely got
also
its
love
place.
flamingos and capybaras.
But my thing is, if you're gonna be, and this is just my personal opinion, if you're gonna be a metal band that does silly things, by all means do that. But the music also has to be very listenable on its own without watching a video or seeing the band perform. And Trollfest does that fucking perfectly. Like, I can listen to every album,
Yes.
and I love listening to it. It's just a treat to be able to see you guys live because that adds an extra layer to it.
I think
Yeah.
Trollfest is one of those bands that it's very strange music and it's so many different things. Like, if you go to the catalog, it's like all kinds of different genres, so it's kind of hard to really say what genre it is.
Yeah.
But people who have seen it live, especially, I think kind of you need to see it to get it, but if you just listen to it, some people get it when they listen to it, but a lot of people kind of scratch their heads and like, where should I place this?
Yeah.
But if you like that strangeness, then I think you should check it out.
Trollfest is fucking great. But your other band, Fleshmeadow, right?
Yes,
So you said, when did you join those guys? When was that? About 12 years ago, right?
something like that. You know what? Now you're taking me a little bit back to the wall here, but
It's okay.
yeah, I don't know, something like that. Yeah, definitely. We've been
Okay.
going. It's my I had one band before that was kind of serious in my teenage, like when I was 18 to 20 something. That's I still have very dear, but there's maybe a chance of a reunion there. It's called Foil, by the way. Check it out. But Fleshmeadow has been kind of a little bit of my baby, and it has had some, especially in the beginning, problems with losing drummer before we recorded our first album, like some real pain going into that. It means a lot to me. Like I've worked so much on that, especially psychologically, just making it work. But the potential, I fucking love the music. So no matter what kind of strife comes, that's something that means a lot to me, and I intend to do more of.
What do you,
So, yeah.
For people who don't know what you do in Fleshmeadow, what do you do in Fleshmeadow?
I originally started only doing vocals, so I mostly do vocals. I do all the vocals, but I've written the drums for at least one song on the Daymare's EP, and I've been a large part of the production itself, I guess, getting everything together and arranging a bit, and later stepped in doing backing guitars because we kind of use. It's mostly a band that's based around one guitarist, so it's like one guitar line's riffage, but sometimes there are leads kicking in, so it's kind of like a keyboard, but it's guitars.
Okay.
Then a couple of chords here and there at the climax, just like, yeah. So I play guitars and do vocals.
The stage show itself, which, I mean, last time we had talked, you guys said that you may not be doing live shows, but I guess that's back in now. Are you guys talking about going live again?
We haven't set any specific dates, but said we are currently working on something, and there have been gatherings where we've come together and played a little bit together recently, so who knows, but the main focus right now is definitely writing some songs.
Okay.
We have written some songs. I don't know how much I should say about this, but
Yeah, no, you don't have
we
to.
are
Whatever
we're
you're allowed
definitely
to say, yeah.
Yeah, whatever you're allowed to say without getting kicked
there's
by
no
the rest of
rights
the band.
involved, but we have something cooking, and it's gonna be, if you like what we've been doing before, we're definitely planning on doubling down on a lot of that.
Okay.
Really hard. So
Okay. I know I've seen you guys now 3 times live, and we were already friends before I saw you live, but I remember thinking, Jesus, if I didn't know this guy, this would probably still be one of my favorite bands, because it has a level of aggression to it that, I don't know, like, if anybody watching this has not checked out Fleshmeadow, just go listen to it. Like, the level of aggression in that music and the things that happen while still being extremely composed is impressive. It's on a very impressive level. I do, however, want to do one song for the audience here so that they can kind of get one of your favorites out so that they can hear it, and then maybe we can discuss what you think about the song and what the song means to you. But this also gives Fleshmeadow kind of an opportunity for people who may not have heard it to hear it. So do you want to tell us what the title of this song is before we play it, and kind of what is
we decided on, I think this is pretty much, if we have a classic, not really, but like that's one of my favorites, definitely, from the newest release, Domus Cadavra. It's called The Long March to Total Annihilation.
Mhm.
Should we have a listen, or should I talk a little bit about the song, or
Talk
what?
a little bit about the song before I play it, dude. We
Yeah.
got time.
Yeah.
I kind of want to hear your thoughts about it before I play it anyway, because it kind of gives everybody a better idea of what they're hearing.
Yeah, kind of to give, it's a little bit personal. It goes into my personal interests. I have some, again, I said religion is one of my huge interests, and society, and this impending sense of doom that many people feel.
Especially
And
now.
yeah, like how, yeah, well, this was released before things started going really west, so it kind of felt a little bit prophetic in a way. It has some Norse themes. It has some probably you could say satanic themes in it. There's a lot to go into there, but you should, I guess, just
No, it's
check it
okay
out
to
and
go into that. I think that's kind of what it's about. So
yeah, we could
when you
listen to
say
the song
just
and
to maybe clarify for listeners, when you say satanic, we're not talking about like Satan and the devil or any of that stuff. It's kind of more of an ideology. Do you want to like talk a little
no,
bit more about that, or you want me to go into the song? Because I don't want people to be like, oh, it's
no,
fucking
no, no,
satanic, so it's not. You know
no.
what I mean? Because it's not.
It's satanic if you describe something. That doesn't mean that you stand for that. So describing horrible things that you are seeing in your side, your peripheral vision coming in, and describing that horror doesn't mean that you stand for it. So
Right. Exactly.
evil is a thing, and that opposing force towards humanity is definitely a valid aspect of life. That's a lot of the themes that I write about. Greed is kind of, I guess, the main theme in this song, to be honest. The greed of people summon dragons on mankind is
I love that line. Yeah.
one of my favorite lines there. So I guess
The reason I even bring that up is because I think it fits really well with the movie that we're doing, because there are themes in this that I think a religious person, it depends on what kind of eye you have, right? It depends on what kind of eye you have for music and for imagery that's in horror films or films just in general. You can look at it with whatever worldview you have and see something completely different than what somebody else would see if they have a different worldview. I'm myself not religious, but I did grow up in a religious household, so I understand the imagery. I understand what Christianity is. I understand the good parts of it. I understand the bad parts of it. If I were looking at this film through the eyes of someone who has a very strong religious Christian belief, I'm not really sure I would make it through the film, because honestly, you would feel like there was evil in the film because it is a very evil film. On the other hand, if you look at it in terms of just world imagery and human beings, you can kind of see that human beings can be their own worst enemy. That real evil lives in the heart of human beings, whether or not there's religion involved or not.
yeah, and that's the thing in Fleshmeadow. I don't really enjoy. I don't dislike religion necessarily, so I don't write about religion directly in that way. But if you, again, if you are inclined to view the world and have those symbolisms ingrained in you, then you will see kind of what I'm talking about there.
Yeah. But okay, so we'll go ahead and play The Long March, which is kind of the short name for it. You guys check it out, and afterwards we'll talk a little bit about it, and then we'll maybe move on to the movie. But fucking enjoy Long March. Yeah, so that was
Yeah.
Long March
A
to
Long
Total
March.
Annihilation by Fleshmeadow.
I
It's
mean,
a
it's
fucking banger.
yeah. I think
There's
it's
unlike a lot of your other stuff that Fleshmeadow has done, I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not a whole lot of backing female vocals in the music. This is one of the first times that you guys have actually done it. And not only did you do it, but you kind of put it at the forefront of the music. And it gives the song a different sound than some of your other stuff. Can you explain to me why you guys decided to do it on that song?
I think it's a natural evolution of what we have been going for from the beginning. It's kind of it's a little bit theatrical in a way, and a lot of the music is influenced by film music or video game music.
As is a lot of black metal.
It's the thing. So this kind of epic Lord of the Rings style worked so well. So we had a good friend of mine, Anna Ødegaard, do the vocals.
Also
the
super
female
fucking
vocals for
nice
that. She
lady,
has
too.
an amazing voice. It's
Yeah.
really high opera vocals. So I hope to see more of her music here around the metal
Yeah,
sphere
I
in the
actually
future.
checked out some of her other stuff. I met her last time I was in Norway with you, and fucking super, super nice person. Just
Yeah, she's great.
awesome.
She is
I think just for her
wonderful.
personality alone, you should bring her back. Let her do some more.
Yeah,
She's
there
great,
is a
dude.
large
She really
chance
is
of
cool.
that. So we are definitely, as I said, it's a natural evolution, and I think there's gonna be probably more of that. I'm not gonna say for sure, but maybe. One thing also about this song or this release in general that I really enjoy is like I felt we really came together as a band and really produced it well and made the vision be all it mostly all it could be. I'm very satisfied with this one, and the drumming especially was Björn from Borknagar also and
Yeah.
Trollfest actually. He
Yeah.
plays in Trollfest with me, so I asked him if he could do the drums, and he did a absolutely excellent job on that one. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the future.
Okay. I remember you guys have been through most of the band has been there for a hot minute, with the exception of the drummer. You guys have switched drummers a few times, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah. Who are you guys using for the upcoming one? At least for your album part. Lot of different
we
stories.
are we've been playing with Leonid Melnikov. He also plays in Kolperan, and he has been playing a lot of session drums for different bands. Nordjebel, for example. Very, very talented young drummer in the Norwegian metal scene, and we've kind of snatched him up before someone else does. He's very, very a very good fit for the band because you're our guitarist. Has a tendency to push it faster and faster, and you need a special kind of drummer to keep up with that. So
Yeah.
he's definitely our guy for that. So
The guy is the guy reminds me, because I've been there for a practice session with you guys when he was there, and then I also saw him live with you guys twice. He reminds me a bit of like Animal from the Muppets. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
He's that guy, but extremely technical at the same time. He's like just this behind the. He's always looking forward. He's always like mean looking. I'm like, dude, that guy's a fucking great fit. I liked him so much, dude. Like,
I think
I like seeing him live. He's great.
he's definitely a guy you should keep an eye out on in the metal scene. He's gonna be around, and he's our guy. So
Okay,
let's fuck
we
shit
won't
up.
steal him. Stefan would kill us. Nah, Stefan's a great drummer, dude. I'm just kidding.
He's a good
Nah,
session drummer.
yeah, he'd hate us definitely. He would definitely hate us for like the first 2 years.
Yeah,
Hope he's not
Stefan's
watching.
our drummer is actually still here right now. He's upstairs on the couch with his hands in a chip bag watching movies.
He's still at your house, okay?
He's still here. I told him, I was like, if you want to, dude, you can come down and say hi. He's like, yeah, vielleicht. Come on, dude. So we might get like a quick introduction to Stefan again, like we did.
Yeah,
in the
very,
first
very in character. Has he been introduced on the show yet?
Yes, in our first
Kind of.
episode.
The first
Good,
episode, he's in there, but all he did was kind of step into the background and go, and then left.
Well,
And I was like, well,
for
I kinda
those who
didn't
know,
wanna
that's
introduce you, but you just kind of
in
fucked
character.
off right after you said
Yeah.
hi. He's an interesting guy, just like everybody else in the band. So, want to talk a little bit about touring, right? You just got done touring with Trollfest.
Yes.
Where the fuck were you guys, and what all happened? Because all I know is
Holy
so
shit.
just for you guys who don't know or may not be friends with Fabian, this guy is literally impossible to get in touch with while he's on the road. Like, I'd write him a few messages and he's like, busy, busy, which that's how it is when you're on tour, right? But you
It's a
guys
lot
were
of shit to
where?
deal with.
Where did you go and what did you do?
Do you want to know every date? I can find that for you right now.
No. Well, if you want to. I mean, we got time. We
There
got
we
time.
see.
I'm not editing shit. If this thing
Brooklyn,
is 3 hours long, it's 3
Boston.
hours long.
No, sorry. Yeah. Boston, Quebec, Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, Columbus, Pontiac, Chicago, Minneapolis, Des Moines, Englewood, Evanston, Wyoming, and Utah, and Winnemucca, wherever that is. California, San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, Mesa, Arizona, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Oklahoma City, Dallas, Austin, Houston, Tampa, Atlanta, Greensboro, North Carolina. Love that place, actually. Baltimore, Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, and then Brooklyn. Yeah.
Holy fuck.
4 days off. 3 of them were pretty much, or 2 of them were, yeah, a lot of driving.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. But it was really great touring with these guys
Yeah,
in Zephyro
yeah.
and Korpiklani and Nini.
Hmm.
If you haven't heard of her, it's Taiwanese and American project. Pretty interesting stuff.
Do you remember what venue you played in Austin, Texas? Because I can probably guess which one it was.
Come and take it live.
Yes! That's my fucking venue, dude. That's where I went to see every fucking show while I lived there. It's a great venue. Man.
I love that venue too. We played there last year when we were touring with Tyr and Either Realm and the Red Crew of Oddwood. And I remember that venue so well with balcony.
Yeah, there's a balcony in the back that kind of looks down over the stage.
I honestly don't know how the sound is because
It's
we
great.
were mostly.
It's great,
yeah.
man.
But
that's why I always went to that venue. There's a few venues in Austin. Austin's known to kind of be a little bit like Denver is, to where metal bands always go to Austin. So there's always a metal band coming through that you want to see. Living there was interesting because every week there was some band I wanted to see coming through. So every weekend there was a show I wanted to see.
yeah,
And that venue
I met some people who
specifically
came
has
there.
fantastic sound.
I met some people who came there just like they didn't really know about any of the bands, but they are just regulars who come there to see stuff. And yeah,
Did you
seems
guys
like a pretty good place.
did you guys get flying beers while you were there?
Not that I noticed, to be
No?
honest.
So they used to have a thing to where if a band played the stage, there would be somebody in the back that would have like, it was like one of those party cups of beer with a top on it, and they would stand in the back. So you got the balcony, and then right beneath that is the merch booth area,
Yeah.
right? And so he would stand in the merch booth area and chuck beers at the stage in this little container, and he'd let the bands know about it first so they could catch it while they were on stage. And they only did that at a few shows. The only reason that I mention this is because it's always been a thing at that venue, but they tried to do it to Satyricon when I was there.
Yeah, that probably went really well.
Did not go well at all. I'm not going to get into that, but I mean, you know, Satyricon, when you start getting beers launched on stage for the band to catch, and they're not exactly like a super fun band.
No,
Yeah,
that's not
it didn't go well. It didn't go well. Anyway, Come and Take It Live was one of my favorite venues. Any of you guys in Austin, if you haven't heard of that venue, go check it out because the sound is always incredible.
Crew is
The
really
owners
nice.
are amazing. The bartenders, everybody's great. Great venue.
Ventilation is pretty good inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, ventilation is good, which you fucking need in Texas because it's like 98 degrees even at this time of the year. So 37 degrees Celsius,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
You'd probably die there in the summer. I remember.
Yeah.
Remember, it was
so-
already on the edge.
As far as Trollfest goes, do you want to say anything about upcoming releases, or do you want to say anything about maybe like themes of the next album? I'm not sure how much you can give away. I know what I know, but I'm not sure what you can say, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah, thematically, I can't say anything,
Okay.
and you just need to
Okay.
wait for that.
Okay. That's kind of what I
but-
figured.
We are cooking up something, definitely. And we have been Flamingos for
Yeah.
some years now, and those who know Trollfest know that it's kind of like a cycle.
Yeah.
And albums need to be made, so maybe that's what we're doing. Let's find out.
A lot of people might not know it too, but you guys were actually in the Eurovision contest, right? That was
yeah.
what, 23 or
No, 22.
22? Yeah,
Was
yeah.
it?
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. I was thinking it was 23 for some reason, but I guess it was 22.
Yeah, something like that.
But you guys made it to the finals, right?
No, we were in the semifinals.
Semifinals. Okay.
But we made it onto television 3 times, I think.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was probably the ugliest thing that's been on Norwegian television ever.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been more and more
quite
metal
something.
bands trying to infiltrate the Eurovision contest in every country.
We didn't actually try to do it. They asked us. So
Are you fucking serious? I didn't
yeah,
know that.
yeah.
Holy shit.
Maybe I shouldn't
Okay.
have said that. I don't know.
No, it's
Fuck
okay.
it. It's like I didn't necessarily
Yeah.
want to do it. They were like, "Can you do it?" I'm like, okay, sure. We have this Flamingo album. Works fine. Let's do it. But it was really, really cool. Actually, the experience. The production was super high level. The people working themselves on the stage and making everything happen. Super duper awesome. Being part of that. I'm not such a fan of the entire Eurovision thing, but
Yeah.
Understandable. Neither.
definitely something I won't forget. It taught me a lot about high level professionalism. Actually, not that I am able to do that, but at least I saw something that I think I will take with me in the future.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I just love it though, man. I feel like if you're starting to see bands, specifically metal bands or bands that may be a little bit more obscure than what you would generally see at that kind of contest, when you see that starting to pop up, you know that metal's doing well. Like that's kind of where I was. There were a lot of people like here in Germany. I can't remember what band it was. Was it Lord of the Lost? They're not necessarily a metal band.
It was Lord of the
But
Lost.
they do have metal elements to them, and people were like, "Oh, fucking can't believe these guys are going up for Eurovision. It's so ridiculous. They're such a stupid band." And I have to be like, okay,
Lordy?
yeah, Lordy as well. I'm
Yeah,
like,
well-
well, can we not forget about if Slipknot had gone up for them, I would have been like, because I support heavy music, dude. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
If heavy music is getting into the mainstream in a way where it's pissing people off, I dig it. I'm absolutely for it. I wouldn't care what band went up for it, as long as it's the heavy persuasion and it's being put in the face of everyone who likes this other kind of poorly produced robotic crap that we've got everywhere. Then I'm all for it, dude.
Yeah, that's why.
I think metalheads in general really we're drawn to that live aspect where there's people actually doing something. So yeah, we like that kind of stuff.
What were you gonna say, Mike?
No, just because we were talking about Eurovision Song Contest and the shitstorm with Lord of the Lost. I mean, I don't know how it was in Norway or in the States, but how I perceived it was just the year before that, Electric Callboy applied for Eurovision Song Contest, but they were declined. So Eurovision Song Contest in Germany got a real fucking shitstorm because of that. So then the next year after that, they brought in Lord of the Lost. And the same people are complaining again because now all of a sudden they're taking a metal band. It's like, what I thought at the time was kind of actually ridiculous because the year before, people were angry because they did not take a metal band. Now that the organizers clearly have listened to the feedback and decided to take a metal band, people were mad because they.
Well, that's the thing.
That's why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, I have to wonder with things like that a lot of the time if you're actually getting the full story though, because I think negative press is press, right? So if it's negative, you're going to hear about it because that's what gets rated, right? So if a bunch of people are pissed off because there's a metal band coming, then of course you're going to hear that. And now if they're pissed off because they're not accepting metal, that's what you're going to hear. We thrive on negativity.
I know, but I'm not talking about press. I'm talking about multiple social media platforms or the internet in general. No, I'm not talking about the press. I mean, I really do not know much about what the press writes because I rarely follow it. You know, like I always here and there look into what the press is saying, but usually I really don't notice because I don't watch TV, I don't read newspapers, I don't listen to the radio, so
Yeah, I honestly think like I'm learning a lot more now, and Fabian kind of warned me about this. He's like, well, when you get into the music scene and you start doing this kind of thing, you're gonna see things that piss you off. You're gonna hear people say things that piss you off. It's just best to ignore it.
Yeah.
And you're
Personally.
absolutely right. Like if you hang on to what everybody says, because there's gonna be people that hate your music.
Yeah, that's 100% guarantee.
Fans, as we talked about before, Mike, fans are some of the fucking worst. Like the
Yeah.
whole
It depends.
gatekeeping thing and just in general being an asshole about people that are getting up on stage in front of you. They
It
ruin
depends.
it.
I mean, just like it isn't like there are some, how should I say it? We've been talking in former episodes, as Matt said, we talk about musicians. And at least in Germany, very often, how should I say it? A lot of bands get jealous very, very fast. Like if another band has more gigs or better gigs or whatever, that they get jealous very, very fast. And, behind the scenes, start saying stuff about it.
That's very toxic. That's, in my opinion, like I've been playing guitar for over 20 years. So like just from playing guitar, I also noticed that in the beginning, people are like, yeah, I'm playing better than you, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Like this
that
competition
too.
bullshit. And that's totally, it's toxic first off, but it's also what I see at the higher levels. And not that I'm like at the super high level, but I tour with some very professional people, you could say. And that kind of competition and jealousy and therefore kind of back talking and
Yeah.
almost like sabotaging each other. That's
Is that a
amateur bullshit. That's not
thing?
something
Do you
that
see a
happens.
lot of that?
No,
Or no?
that's not something that happens really at the level we are, at least, where we are all in this boat together. And we like, if we see someone that is fucking killing it, then it's not like they're just showing off. It's like, wow, fuck yeah, dude, go! Oh, holy shit, let me see what you did there. Yeah,
Yeah.
like professionals don't
Yeah.
do this toxic shit. I guess some people at a very high level who are narcissists, but like if you want
Think of a few bands.
yeah, but like that's not how most people get along and get shit done. To get shit done, you need to cooperate. And like if you see a band that's doing more than you, it's like, oh fuck yeah, cool. Get in contact with them, maybe do some gigs together, and you can join the wave, and then you can drag some other people with you. It's like,
I think that maybe for the metal scene specifically, and this is something I noticed way before I was even into like making music or anything. A lot of what you see in the metal community is homebrew stuff. It's very grassroots. Metal is probably more grassroots than any other kind of music that's out there that's popular in terms of like, hey, if I know this person and they're willing to help me out, then let's call him and see what we can do, or him or her. Let's see what they can do for us. Let's see what we can do for them. And everybody kind of works together. And that's been my experience so far. I haven't seen a whole lot of hate from other bands or anything like that. I mean, I hear about it, but I haven't personally seen it yet.
Sorry, didn't want to interrupt you, Fabian.
Go ahead.
no.
Okay, well, for me, when it comes to what I said, a lot of this toxic stuff, I mean, in the early years, I think we experienced a lot of it, before we released our first EP. And ever since we released our first album, I also rarely have had anything to do. But a lot of those toxic people I specifically met when I was looking for people for Texas Cornflake Massacre. And that was in that period of the band, literally it just felt like everyone was toxic.
Yeah, well, I guess Trollfest itself gets a lot of hate in that way, where it's people just like shitting on it. You just like, okay, cool story, bro.
Yeah, but what I think, Trollfest probably, when it comes from fans, like you were saying, is probably for one, they're a humorous band. And I also noticed, even among a lot of metal fans I've met, once a band starts getting silly and humorous, they automatically get hate. Us as well. With the name Texas Cornflake Massacre, when we first started out, people literally just laughed at us. And other musicians sometimes wouldn't even take me seriously just because of the band name, so.
See, those
Well,
same
then they're
people,
missing out,
like,
I guess. Don't you like fun, bro? Come on.
yeah, what, you don't like fun? What's wrong with you? Well, that's the other thing, Mike, you were also saying. I don't know, Fabian, if you've experienced this too, but the same people that were like, you guys suck, you're ridiculous, you're not real. when you started gaining a little bit of popularity, like you were saying about Texas, those same people were like, "Hey, dude, can we get on this gig with you? Can we get on this gig with you?
Yes,
Can you hook us up?" And you were like, "Aren't you the same fucking guy who told us we were trash like last year?"
yes, yeah. That was exactly that happened as well. Yeah,
I love it, dude.
even though I just thought it was funny because I mean now even after so much years we're still a pretty small band, you know, and it was just actually when a few people asked us like that stuff like, oh, can we open up for one of your gigs, it was just like other bands asking me that for one. I just, at the time, I couldn't realize that there were other musicians that saw us that way. Like that, like we're this kind of bigger band or whatever. Because even till
You guys
now,
are fucking huge, dude.
No.
okay, I mean, I hear
Thanks,
it all the
Fabian.
time, but it doesn't really feel to me like we're huge.
You should play some. Wait, American gigs are probably gonna be hard for you because of visas.
Well,
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are going on right now that's going to make that hard for us.
yeah, I mean, you and me, Matt, aren't going to have much problems with it, but yeah, the other three.
Yeah.
I got kind of lucky there that all the paperwork went through before, like in December, I think.
Yeah.
So now we can go play in the USA for
Yeah.
3 more years with
Yep.
Trollfest.
Yeah, you guys will be okay. But I mean,
Mhm.
I was reading something a little while ago. I can't remember the band that had put it out, but they said basically considering canceling all of their American tours that they have coming up, and not for political reasons, but just because now America is making it so much fucking harder for anyone from anywhere else to get into the country. And it's
I
almost
just
like they're
saw,
purposefully
was it
delaying visas and stuff.
Fabio Leone? I think he's the Rhapsody vocalist or something, or ex-Rhapsody, whatever you say there. There's like 3 Rhapsodies now, I think. But he was supposed to do something with the Visions of Atlantis, I think, and he had to cancel that this year. So it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, that sucks for him.
Yeah, there's.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens here in the next 4 years if it lasts that long. I'm not going to get political or anything, but I mean the climate is pretty fucking bad right now, especially for anybody international who wants to do anything in the U.S. And I think it's really sad because honestly, the way that I view music, and you guys are probably feel about the same as I do. Music is kind of the best part of humanity, as far as I'm concerned, because it is the one thing that is purely human. It is entertainment. It's thought provoking. It gets the gears turning. And most of all, it makes you feel good. But we're hit the hardest by political decisions, honestly. And for me, if there's no art, if there's no thought provoking, out of the norm type of entertainment, then society's just kind of dead.
Yeah, that's kind of the point of many ways of making things totalitarian. It's like,
Yeah.
don't do this, only do sports, don't do art. Sports
Yeah,
has rules,
exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I mean, to a certain degree, it's debatable. You could make the prognosis. How long will art and music still be made by humans? I mean, considering the fact that I don't know how much the numbers are, but the last like 20 or 30% of in some genres on Spotify nowadays are already just purely AI generated. You know, music and artists.
I think the metal scene will be pretty okay because we enjoy again that live aspect of seeing people just like fucking rip it.
Yeah.
But it's gonna
that's why
like
we
take
do
the
this.
backseat, just like classical music is now. Like that's some old people stuff. In 30 years, we'll be like shredding, and young kids are like, those grandpa, yeah, do your heavy metal.
True.
Some newscaster 40 years from now is be like, I hate to tell you all this, but the last metal musician has died.
The last real metal band.
I don't know, like that's a different topic altogether, man. Like it's probably a good thing Misha's not here because that's Misha's favorite thing to talk about. Because his whole thing is forget about the fact that what you hear on Spotify or what you hear anywhere else could possibly be AI generated. He's like, even if these guys are playing live, and he makes a good point. Even if these guys are playing live, you don't know how much of their shit was written by it. And that's something to think about. You know what I mean? But there's no way you will ever know because
but
integrity is shot, when it comes to money and it comes to playing live and stuff like that for a lot of it.
yeah. But the thing is, with the argument of you'll never know, did they actually make their music? That's something that literally goes back to the 80s. I mean, And yeah, and that is
I think
something
it
that
goes way further back. There's probably some
yeah, yeah.
imposters in the
True.
1600s. Like, yes, I wrote this and paid
True,
some
Fabian,
guys.
true, absolutely. But how should I say? I mean, it's something that is also in metal, no, to a certain degree. But if you just like musicians not writing their music, it being written by somebody else. I mean, or sometimes them not even performing it live. I mean, when did Milli Vanilli happen? And that was like
Like 1980,
80s.
1988, I want to say.
80s, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's just one of those things, you know, everybody was back then like totally fucking apeshit, you know, and totally fucking made because they don't do playback. It's like, god damn it, that's like the entire genre at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. We'll see where it goes, dude. Like
Yeah.
I know for one, I will not participate in music that has anything to do with AI. I won't. Like if it comes down to that, I'll go back to just being a listener. I'm not gonna do that. And I think that's kind of where metal musicians need to hold their ground and just be like, look, dude, like if
Yeah.
you're talking about doing that, I'm not part of it.
You need to be part of that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, do you guys want to take a break before we dive into the witch?
Take a break, yeah, which means
I have to take a leak.
Yeah,
okay, so like
Matt has the pace.
5 minutes
This
or
is
something.
round 3,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
cool. All right, folks, we'll be right back after a short break. We are back, and I've emptied my bladder. So I wanted to say, because I forgot to mention it earlier, the new intro that we're using on the podcast was created by Fabian himself. This was something we
Yeah.
wanted to do earlier,
Thanks
but
for that,
Fabian's a
Fabian.
really busy guy, and he's been on tour. But the intro is sick as fuck, so I hope you guys like it.
Yeah, it was
He
pretty
did all
fun.
the music for it, all the drums, everything that you hear is Fabian himself. And then there's little sound bites here and there from every horror movie that we love, kind of crammed in there. I would love for like some listener to like try to figure out what every sound in there, what movie it comes from,
Yeah.
and then write us. And hey, maybe when we actually get a T-shirt going for this podcast, we'll send you a T-shirt if you've guessed it all correctly.
Yeah.
That'd be cool, right? So, like I said before, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, fine. I didn't want to say anything.
Like I said before, the movie we're doing is The Witch, which is Robert Eggers. And this guy, for me, I don't know how you guys feel about him, but his movies it's like one big piece of scenery art, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you go into a traditional horror film, which we're all like horror fanatics, but if you go into a traditional horror film, you go into it expecting certain things. What I love about Robert Eggers is he shits all over that. Like he doesn't smack you in the face with extremely gory imagery. He doesn't try to shock you. It's all mostly thought-provoking themes.
This is not really a horror movie. It's like eerie and it's more like a period drama. Is that what they call it?
It's
A
well, I
period
wouldn't call
piece.
it. I'd definitely call it horror, but it fits a small subgenre of genre of horror, which is folk horror
Yeah.
or American Gothic, if you want to call it.
Yeah, well, I think it feels more the movie, like, to me, when I watched it the first time, it felt more like a drama thriller with a little bit of a horror aspect.
Right.
That's how it felt to me.
For most of the movie, it felt like a psychological period drama for the most part because you weren't sure what exactly was going on. Is this just psychological or is this
Yeah.
thing?
For
Oh,
me,
it's something.
it's one of those, and Robert Eggers does this really well. I think the only time that he didn't really do anything with his films like he did in this film was probably Nosferatu, because that already has kind of a story that is pretty well laid out. So basically, he just kind of redid that movie and kind of put his touch on it, which I love the movie. Great fucking movie.
Yeah,
Excellent job.
it's very eerie. Very.
Yeah, very eerie version of the original story. But for this one, I kind of feel like he went with an original story, and he also did something that nobody's done before, which is kind of touched upon the religious aspects of early Americans when they first came to the country and what that settlement actually was and what the people were like.
Yeah.
They were Puritans, right?
Yeah.
So in Puritan communities and, with the Pilgrims and everybody else, when they came over wanting to secede from England because for them it was too restrictive and they kind of wanted to develop a new world. So there were two parts of the Puritan system. And so you had groups like this one that they're exiled from at the very beginning of the movie who were Christian, of course, because Christianity was the religion at the time, but they were less so stringent about the rules and what that meant. The dad's character in this movie, William, he is an opposite. He's another Puritan, but he's from the extremely religious side. And they came
Yeah.
over with a Puritan group who were less religious than he was, right?
The Puritans were not pure enough for that guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's also like a very large underlying theme that he's so pure that he bears so much guilt that he cannot be pure, and some of the things like all of this film has like you can view it from every character's psychological aspect kind of, and he has like this guilt and almost feels like he's deserving of all these horrible things happening.
Yeah.
For him, there's different parts of the Bible, and it happens a lot in the Bible where people felt like they needed to be tested
Mm.
for their faith, right? And so Jesus does it in the Bible himself just to kind of show the way
Yeah.
that when he was in the
In the
desert,
desert.
was tempted by Satan, that kind of thing. He's doing that to himself here, and that's what we're seeing in the opening scene, where him and his family are standing in front of a court, a Puritan court, and they get exiled, right? They get exiled because he's just too religious.
didn't wanna
and
shut up.
hell-bent.
He
Yeah.
didn't want to shut up. Yeah, that's just
Pretty
kind
much.
of funny. Yeah, because he didn't want to shut up, and he's too extreme for the extremists. That entire kind of vibe is what comes over. What makes it actually kind of funny.
Yeah, he tries to be
That-
like
that's-
Jesus, but he cannot, and then he feels that
Yeah.
kind of thing, and he
Yeah.
I think he likens them to Job's family at one point, but yeah.
Yeah. He's too much for the entire plantation that's there, right? And so Puritans built what you would call a fort, but it's a fort around a plantation, and then they would sell their wheat to the natives, or they would sell their wheat to other
Yeah.
plantations in the area, whatever.
And also have the safety of the fortifications and a little bit of like militia support, stuff like that.
Exactly.
And they were cast out.
It's basically what you saw in Europe in the early 13th centuries, where England would go to Ireland or Scotland, and they would create fortifications. It's an English thing. They've always done it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what they've done. They've moved to America. He's there with them. He's too religious for them. And at one point, one of the judges says,
Take a
you're
hike.
too much for us, and you're going to have to leave. And he's like, I'll be fine without you guys. And so he takes his family into the wilderness. He and his wife, Catherine, and their children, Thomason, Caleb, Mercy, Jonas, and then the baby whose name is Samuel. And they leave the community and head for the nearby forest. So we're talking about, at one point in the movie, he talks about when they don't have a horse, he's like, it's going to take me 2 days to get there. So they're about 2 days away walking if they didn't have a horse. And so we get kind of a quick picture of a life on their farm, which is basically what this is. They
Right, to
try to make a
harvest.
living building a homestead and farming. You get the idea that this was done hastily, although I don't feel like it was done hastily because the house is kind of nice.
Yeah, it's already
Which
existing.
is not a bad house.
They build it pretty fast.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we see the time frame, but for
Yeah.
me it was done to where it was like flash to bang felt like 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
They were in the plantation, they left, and all of a sudden they had this homestead.
Yeah, it seems like
This
it was
homestead
already
probably
existing.
took-
By the way, I think it looked like it was already existing by the way it was worn. So I don't
Yeah.
know how long they've been at the plantation. Maybe it's made like
It looked to me kind of like a year or two. You know.
Yeah. Well, it would take about that long to get the crops growing, because when we first see them at this plantation, they've already got corn growing. They're already cutting
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I think it was a place that they already had established as like an out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an outposting. It doesn't matter. They don't explain it. We're supposed to kind of just get
They're
whatever
there
we think is going
doing
on.
the corn thing. I think it's
Yeah.
corn, right?
It's corn and wheat. So
Yeah.
they talk about wheat
Corn.
as well, but we don't really see the wheat. We just see corn. And that the family's cutting corn and stocking it because they want to go sell it to other plantations or to other people that
Yeah.
are living in the area.
Being independent.
We get a scene where the daughter, Thomason, who is played by who? What's her name? She's like super famous now.
Anya Taylor Joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I freaking love this actress, dude. Like
She's
she's
good.
in so
She's
much
good.
good stuff.
It was just
She's
when the scene opened, when the I did not even remember that she was playing in the movie because it was really a few years back when I saw the movie first time, you know. And I knew Anya Taylor from multiple other movies she played in. And when I first saw her in this movie, I was like, "Holy fucking shit, is she young?"
She's been around now
Yeah,
recently.
for quite some time now.
She's in everything.
Yeah,
She's in
that's what it
everything.
feels like. Yeah, she's in everything.
Yeah. She's doing really good too. She does a good job of picking movies that are going to do well too. She had this whole thing. I'm not sure what it was called in English, but in Germany it's called Damon's Gambit, and it was
I think it's Ladies Gambit.
yeah, Ladies Gambit in English, where she plays like a prodigy chess player, and I think the movie starts when she's like 15 and it goes on, or the series is fantastic. I would recommend that to anybody. Awesome. But she's in it. We get a scene where she is outside with the baby, kind of in the middle of the day, and she's playing peekaboo with the baby, right? She does it 2 or 3 times, and every time she uncovers her eyes, we see the baby who's like happy about it, happy to be playing a game. And then all of a sudden she does it one last time and she opens her eyes and the baby's gone. Fucking gone. Like, you don't hear any footsteps, you don't hear anybody running away with the baby. The baby's fucking gone. She
She
doesn't
freaks
know
out.
why. She runs inside and tells family. The family's obviously destroyed about it. We get a little bit of a scene right after the family turmoil of losing the baby where we see kind of an older hag running away with the screaming baby into the woods, right?
Yeah.
We know
Yes,
the baby's
yes.
been stolen by something. The next scene we get, and I love how he does this. I love how this is set up. Like, you get then a naked woman inside of a hut. She's not wearing any clothes. It's very muddy and disgusting, and she's obviously grinding something up.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So this is kind of the first hint that you get that there's a supernatural aspect of this movie.
Yeah.
One
And
of the only ones, really. It's
No,
not
it's the
explicit.
first
It's kind
one.
of like drips of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty gory. Like, it's not, you don't get to see the baby pulped, right?
Yeah,
But
but
you do
I
see
mean,
that there's
but you know
blood
what's
everywhere,
happening,
and
and that's
she's basically making a paste out of this baby. It's like baby toothpaste. Just fucking smash this baby into this paste, and we don't really know what she's doing with it. I went back to kind of look at
Gore
Egger's
and
take
see.
on it. Yeah, because I'm curious, man. Like, if I think something about a movie, I want to go back and kind of see what the director was thinking. He's thinking that he derived a lot of his things about witches from old folk tales that were told. And when a witch gets a hold of a baby, they use the baby, then they get a new power, right? And so for this, he was thinking youth.
but the
So
baby.
if you're a witch
Yeah,
and you eat the baby, you get youth, right?
yeah, but it has to be a baby hasn't been baptized.
Right, right. And they talk about that in the film too, because they did not get the baby baptized because they left before they could. So there's a
Witch
whole
eating
huge
babies is
conversation
a
about
huge thing that goes back to also Puritan
Yes.
persecution very very deeply, where of course you need a scapegoat, and then they need to have done something. Oh, baby was lost, it was probably this weird old lady there. They eat babies and they fly on the brooms and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of
there's
that.
a lot of talk about after the baby is obviously missing and they don't think that the baby's coming back. They start to say the mother is fretting about the baby's soul and if it's going to go to heaven or if the baby's in hell, stuff
Wasn't
like that, because it
baptized,
wasn't
yeah.
baptized, right? Which this whole thing is kind of a tension and guilt. So Catherine, which is the mother, she falls into a deep depression and blames Thomason for Samuel's disappearance because she was the last one with the baby. Right after that, Caleb, which is the brother that's right underneath the
The younger
daughter,
brother, yeah.
they go into the woods to check a trap, right? Because they think, oh, well, let's go see if we can get some food because the dad and the son went out earlier and there was nothing in the traps. They kind of discuss sin and salvation. Caleb worries about Samuel's soul. They spot a rabbit, right? And Chrissy said this, and I didn't kind of get this at first. So I kind of went back and looked to see what Eggers had to say about it. The rabbit actually is the witch. It's the witch. So she's the shapeshifter. And so the rabbit
Typical.
kind of leads them astray into the woods and they get separated. Caleb's separated. He's out by himself. All he's got is this rickety ass fucking gun, which, dude, this gun sucks. I would have hated to had to use this kind of rifle at all.
Yeah.
This thing has got like, the old Looney Tunes fucking bombs that have like a fucking Zinnschnur. I forget what that's called in English, but it's like a
flint.
fuse.
Yeah.
It's got a fuse on a
Yeah.
rope to it, and you would light the fuse and wait for it to make it to the gunpowder in the gun, and then it would fire. So that means you had to find your target and sit pointed at that target until the fuse burnt down and shot the weapon. This weapon sucks. But okay, this kid's out there with the weapon all by himself, and he comes on, he kind of comes up to this cabin in the woods where it's really fucking dark. Go ahead.
There was something about temptation and all of that. That was this, because I think there were some scenes where he was lustily looking at his sister also.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Because
Mike,
that
you
was
commented
just,
on that when we were watching the movie. Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that comes later. Or?
No, it comes before he gets lost. Because when
because
he
he
gets
gets
lost,
lost.
he comes back all
right,
fucked
right,
up.
right.
And giving into temptation
Mhm.
is kind of his arc, which we will get into later.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was
But the
worried
scene you're
about
talking
about his soul to his father, and then they had this talk, as you said,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
because he had
So
this
before
feelings.
they get lost in the woods, you're talking about is there she's out getting water and he's out with her and they're talking about the baby and worrying about his soul and stuff. And you see that he kind of glances at his sister's chest because she's leaned over to get the water out.
And it's just
And
like
he's
tense.
staring at her provocatively a little bit. And
Yeah.
temptation's definitely a theme here.
Yeah, for
But you
every character has their different kind of
Then
sinful temptations or whatever. The father has this pride and different things, and Caleb then has the temptation.
that and hypocrisy. We see
Yeah,
hypocrisy from
there-
him a few times.
I think also since they're so religious, he is very aware of the verse that says something like he who has sinned in his thoughts, or can you
sinned against me. Yeah, in the Bible. He
Like
who
has-
sinned in his thoughts has sinned against me.
yeah, something like that. So he's like freaking out about that probably.
But
And
the thing that gets me really early, I feel like hypocrisy is kind of his thing because at first, they get kicked out of where they were because he was too religious, right?
Yeah.
and the
And
father,
then his son immediately in front of his eyes lies to his mother about why they were in the woods in the first place, right?
yep,
And he
that's-
just thinks this is great because it protects him from any kind of
Yeah.
scorn from his
it
wife.
seems like
So this is
he felt
a
that
bold
like
lie.
Well,
Go ahead, baby.
Yeah.
the sins of the father
Yeah.
atoned by the son.
Nice Lamb of
Mhm.
God line there, buddy.
Yeah.
Metal references.
So he's a hypocrite, and he's one of the worst kinds of hypocrites because he will use the Bible to make people feel bad about what they do. He'll use it to tell you you're a bad person and you're a sinner, but then he himself will turn a blind eye to it when it happens in his favor.
Yeah, he's a very complicated character. I don't think necessarily he's a bad guy, but he's so brainwashed by this, like, I need to be exactly like the Bible says, and that's kind of problematic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's not necessarily a good idea to take a book as fact that was written like 2,000 years ago.
Well, many people have tried. Many people will try.
They continue to, but I think that is where religion is concerned and the Bible is concerned. A lot of Christians, especially the ones that are really intelligent and can kind of read into it and understand it with a historical context, will be the first to tell you, hey, the Bible's not meant to be taken literally. It's a series of fables, and you're supposed to learn something from each fable. And so if you take the Bible seriously, then you're not going to get anywhere with it, right? So there's a certain amount of
There's a lot
denial
of-
you have to have about the legitimacy of the Bible as an expert who is also a Christian, right?
Yeah,
So we have people struggling with that now that are brilliant people.
yeah. It's just thought-provoking themes that you should maybe think about. Maybe don't take it too seriously.
Yeah.
But should we go on?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing. I can get stuck in this kind of thing all day long because I fucking love talking about it. I think me and Fabian, how many hours have we spent on just this subject alone?
Countless.
Yeah.
So anyway, Caleb gets lost in the woods, comes upon a cabin. This really provocative, hot, dark-haired female with a red coat comes out of the cabin. And immediately he's attracted to her. She also does not try to shoo him away from this fact at all. In fact, she leans in, puts her arms around him, and starts kissing him. Keep in mind, this kid is probably not older than, I don't know, 9, maybe 8 or 9, something like that. And that's the last time we see him. So at this point, the audience is like, well, that's the witch. She's younger now. And she just took this kid into her cabin. That's probably the last time we're going to see him.
Yeah.
that's not what happens. She comes back home without a horse because the horse has now been lost. Her brother is lost. Of course, the whole family blames her.
So again,
Yeah, because the mother has been blaming her the entire time for everything that goes wrong. That's
Yeah,
the thing,
well, these two fucking kids don't help. Sorry. And Mike, when I was watching this movie with you yesterday, I was like, these two kids, I'm sorry, they're fucking assholes.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
These
did
two
we
little kids,
also?
they're fucking little jerks.
There was
when
a
we were watching
scene.
the movie, every time these kids came on the screen, you said, "I hope they fucking die."
But was there a scene, or is that coming up where she's like, "Yeah, I'm a witch."
Yeah, we
no.
already passed it, but
Yeah, we passed that one already. When they were at the creek getting water,
Yeah.
that's the scene you're talking about, where the girl comes up and says something
She's a
about like,
witch,
yeah, the witch took Samuel, whatever, and then Anya Taylor starts acting like she's the witch and starts carrying up a little girl. That's the scene.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's also a thing that was it Black Phillip, the goat.
Yep.
Has been there
Exactly.
from the beginning, and they're like talking about that he's talking to them, and Black Phillip said this, blah blah blah.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So there might not be more to that than like when she says she's the witch, then Black Phillip is probably like, yeah, she's the witch, and they're like, yeah, Black Phillip says she's the witch.
Yeah.
So
which at least at that point in the movie, you're
the
kind of,
family's
I feel like, supposed to think that this is a child and their imagination running away with them, right? But to get the kid to shut up, it doesn't help that her character comes over to the kid, tackles her, and is like, "Yes, I am the witch, and I took Samuel away, and blah blah blah, witchcraft, blah,
make
blah,"
you
scaring the
disappear.
kid to
Yeah,
death.
yeah,
It is
yeah,
extremely
yeah.
intense, So of course this kid is now convinced that she's a witch, and of course her brother is the same age she is because they're twins and they're very close, obviously. And so they've been talking about it back and forth. So when she returns back to the cabin without Caleb and without the horse, of course, the kids are like, it's her. She's a witch. She told me she was a witch. She even tackled me and told me she was going to hex me. She's a witch. And so at this point, the whole family, including the father, is a little bit skeptical of her, right?
The family's kind of conspiring against her, she feels, and at this point, as far as we know, she hasn't really done anything wrong.
Yeah.
As far as we know, but that's the thing we'll get to towards the end of the film. I think there may be a little bit of a deeper thing going on here that we
The
miss.
ending is quite something.
Yeah. So after all this, the family blaming her, Caleb returns. So we feel like the family's settled down a little bit. They've accepted the fact that he's gone, but they've decided to go to sleep for the night.
Yeah.
The daughter says, I'm going to go outside and quiet the goats down before we go to sleep. She goes outside and she sees Caleb in the rain, naked, laying against a fence, delirious. So she grabs him up and brings him in the house. They lay him down in what I suspect is the attic because it's upstairs. And the two little kids are there. The mom and dad are there. She's there. And he is laying in the middle of the floor on his back.
Yeah, but was there something, like, I feel maybe I might be wrong, that I saw like blood running down his leg when he was leaning it up against the fence? Like,
I think something like that, because when she got him out of the fence, he had, I think, he had blood on his leg and on his face. No, he had like a mark here and on his, here and up here on his head.
Yeah, like maybe
right.
his testicles were missing or something. That's kind of the vibe I got. Maybe.
I don't know, man.
That.
I don't remember that. I just saw it. I don't remember any blood on his leg. I do remember the cuts on his face, and I do remember that they lay him down and they put a bowl next to his head, and they cut here to bleed him out because that's what people thought you had to do back in the day, bloodletting, right? They start doing that. He's laying on the ground. He's delirious and kind of babbling religious phrases. Because we had a room full of people upstairs and we were watching this last night, I didn't go back and see what he said because I kind of wanted to contextualize it with the Bible, but I didn't get to that. But it doesn't matter because what he basically says is, I'm free. Jesus is taking me. It's okay, mom and dad, blah, blah, blah. And he basically physically kind of ascends to heaven and you kind of feel like his soul leaves his body and then he falls back dead, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, the kid was probably just delirious and had a fever and was dying. There's a couple reasons for this that we can get into later.
There's one more thing, like he spews out this ball.
That's right.
Apple, was it, or something like that?
Right.
And that's also with the temptation theme that is kind of his thing.
I had
noticed that
completely
with-
forgotten about that. Yeah, yeah. And the apple's bitten into, the one that he spits
Uh-huh.
out. It's got
Yeah,
some bites
exactly.
on it.
That's like he
The
got
apple of
into.
temptation.
He got lured by Eve. That kind of. He bit the apple.
So he convulses and dies in a fit of ecstatic religious passion, I guess, crying out about Christ and angels before he passes. Then we get kind of the accusation of possession, right? The twins, Mercy and Jonas, accuse Thomason of being a witch. We talked about that. Thomason fires back, accusing them of conversing with Black Phillip, which is the goat, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And she blames what's happened on the fact that Black Phillip is probably possessed by the devil, and the kids have been talking to it. Catherine, which is the mother, is basically unraveling mentally, right? She
Mhm.
just starts to lose it. William, poor guy, like, even though I'm not a big fan of this guy, like, I feel bad for him because he's just kind of standing in the corner and doesn't know who to believe. Like, he's just kind of
Yeah,
like, I
he's
don't know
totally
what the fuck
confused.
is going on. I don't know if she's a witch. I don't know if the children are possessed or the goat is possessed. I
Stop
don't know what's
punishing
going
me.
on. Yeah. And so he grabs the daughter up and says, well, okay, here's the deal. I don't know if the two twins are possessed. I don't know if you're a witch. So what I'm going to do is lock you all in the barn. So that's what he does. He goes outside, he locks them. This part didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Well,
Because
he said specifically, Matt, he locked the two young kids and Thompson in
In
the barn
with
with the
Black Phillip.
animals, and if one of them is the witch, then it's probably gonna. And if all of them, I think, survive, then none of them is the witch, and the one surviving is probably the witch. I think that is how I
Something
understood
like
what's
that,
going
yeah.
on. Yeah.
Okay. I remember watching this part and thinking, why would you lock all three of them into the barn with Black Phillip? It seems like you're kind of locking all of the evil spirits in one spot to where if they wanted to do something, they definitely now could. Because I think Satan, as far as what the Bible describes, is not going to have a problem getting out of a barn.
Yeah. Well, you never know.
Let's
You never
take
know.
these round-inch
Yeah.
fucking nails and nail these little boards up.
I
Satan's
have-
not going to get out of there, dude.
I have something like an inkling that he has some kind of biblical verse that he also uses to kind of cast out
Yeah.
something like
Yeah,
that.
maybe. Yeah.
I think it was the whole Gentiles. I forget what part it was in the Bible, but it's about casting the demons away into the animals. You remember that in the Bible? Into the pigs,
I'm
I
not
think
sure.
is what.
I just have an inkling that there was something there because there's a lot of because that guy almost doesn't
Oh, yeah.
do anything without biblical backing. Seem
Yeah. Every decision he makes has to be biblical. He doesn't even decide to take a shit before he has counsel with Jesus. Something like that.
Lord guide my bowels.
I love the actor, by the way. The guy he's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah,
he
the
really
acting
does
is
this part really well.
spectacular. It's totally on point.
So he locks Thomason and the twins in the barn with the goats overnight. At night, the witch reappears, right? And she's inside the cabin with them. And I remember looking at the scene and looking at the walls that were nailed. The boards are still nailed on the wall. So she didn't like get into where they were by taking any boards off. She was automatically already there.
Mhm.
And she's feeding on one of the goats inside, not Black Phillip, but one of the other goats. And then the morning comes and the twins are gone. So the father
Yeah.
comes out, he looks at the cabin, the boards have been removed, the animals are gone as far as he can see, the twins are gone, and it's just Thomason laying there, right? So he finds the barn destroyed, the goats are dead, Thomason is unconscious. He tries to make sense of it all, but while he's trying to make sense of it all, and here's the thing, did you notice how malnourished this guy looks when he comes out towards the barn? Like his clothes are ill-fitting.
Hanging.
He's delirious looking. He looks like he hasn't eaten in a while. One of the things we didn't mention is that the corn that they were trying to raise to sell has all been destroyed.
Famished.
Yeah.
It's got a disease. None of the corn was any good. So this family basically hasn't had anything to eat for a while. So they're delirious. They're probably hallucinating a little bit, and they're just not doing well physically at all. And if you know anything about that state, it is impossible sometimes to tell truth from fiction or what's reality and what's not. And that's
Yeah.
kind of where this guy is.
Yeah, this has also been a huge theme throughout, where you're
The
like,
Bible. Yeah. Which is what I hate to say it, but the guy kind of got exactly what he wanted. He mentions at one point in the film that he wanted to get the family out there so that they could be tempted like Christ was in the desert with
Yeah.
Satan. And also there's a couple other characters in the Bible that this happened with. It's a central theme in the Bible.
Mm.
Well, he got what he wanted because he's at this point. He's starving. He's not doing well. He's not getting any sleep. He's probably hallucinating, and he thinks everything is hexed, right? You got what you
Yeah.
wanted, dude. Don't be so upset. So while
You're
he's
like
standing
Job,
there
my
thinking
friend.
about all this, Black Phillip decides to gore him to death. The guy runs up, sticks his fucking horns in his stomach, and there's blood fucking everywhere. The guy's dying. He falls back into a wood pile. The wood pile collapses on top of him. He's
Yeah,
dead.
that woodpile
Thomason
collapsing is
runs out of the
also. There's one point where he like is about to kill Black Phillip because like fuck that shit, like, but he doesn't do it, and that's kind of not killing the scapegoat. I felt like somehow symbolic,
Yeah.
and then also when he gets buried by the wood pile, I thought that was a little bit strange. But like with his sin was kind of the pride or whatever you could say, and one of his things that he always did was chop the wood. And there was one point I think where he was chopping the wood, and the wife or
Out of
someone was
frustration, yeah.
nagging him, and he was like somehow like, I just want to chop the wood, and like, can I not do this? His pride was in chopping all that wood.
Yeah. And then in the end,
And
it fell
then
on him.
his pride was burying him.
That's actually
Yeah.
pretty cool. I didn't think about that before. Okay,
Mhm.
that's a nice point. Okay.
There's that's the thing with this movie. There's all kinds of these
Yeah.
all sorts of symbolism. I think there was a lot of biblical research involved somehow.
There definitely was, man. There's a whole write-up that I read where Eggers is talking about how he went deep into the Bible and then kind of deep into the mythology at the time from the Puritans, because a lot
The
of those texts
Puritanian
are
way.
still around. Like you can still read a lot of that stuff. The guy does a great job. Like, a lot of people, one of the things I heard about this film when it came out, you had two groups of people. You had people that were like, that film is amazing. And it's very thought-provoking and very deep. And then there was the other group of people who probably went into this thing expecting a
Horror
gore
movie.
in your face horror film and were extremely disappointed and bored to death.
That's
Right?
why I'm saying it feels more like a period drama in many ways, because it's so like
Yeah.
ambiguous at times, and yeah, again with the duality of like, is this just some kind of mindfuck or is this actually happening?
Well, that's the thing. This whole movie, there's several different ways you can look at it. And that kind of comes to a head at the end in terms of what you think is real, what you think if what you saw actually happened, or if it may be something else. There's several scenarios that it could be. But the cool thing about that is that in every scenario, regardless of what you believe happened, the biblical themes that are in this underlie everything. And that's really all you have to pay attention to. For the most
Yeah,
part, is
and just
the
like the
religious
Bible, it
symbolism
is
of it.
kind of ambiguous. So like, is there some kind of moral there? But it is biblical, so like, what's...
Oh, I think there's a huge moral there. I think there's a huge
Yeah.
moral there. I'll get into that towards the end, but
Yeah,
we'll
let's
kind of
go
go
on.
through the central themes of the movie towards the end because I think that's really what's worth talking about. So the goat kills him. He falls back. The wood that he's been chopping the whole time falls on him. Catherine attacks Thomason in kind of a grief-fueled rage, right?
Yeah, her sin.
Thomason has her on top of her at one point. The mother's screaming at her, "You're a witch. You slept with Satan. You've cursed the farm. You killed your father." She's choking her. Thomason picks up kind of a knife. It's the knife that you see people use to cut corn with.
Yeah.
And she basically fucking stabs her mother to death with it until she dies. So her
Yes.
mother's on top of her. She pushes her mother off. She stands up.
And she has been bathed in the blood of her mother.
Yes, she's
Like a
fucking
true
covered
witch.
in her mother's blood. Yeah. So alone and traumatized, Thomason speaks to Black Phillip, asking him to speak. But this is after she's killed her mom. She walks in. She takes off her overgarment, and the only thing that she has left is kind of her shift, which is like a nightgown, basically. And she falls asleep inside the cabin because she's exhausted. She wakes up the next morning and walks out to the cabin that she had to stay the night in the night before and starts speaking to Black Phillip because I think at this point she kind of wants to know if there's any truth to what she accused the twins of, conversing with Black Phillip and that he's the devil and blah, blah, blah. He asks her, or she asks him to speak to her. He responds after what seems like a good fucking 30-second pause where there's nothing going on. He
Yeah,
responds in kind of a deep, seductive male voice. It's a very like deep, seductive kind of voice. He basically says, do you want to live your life without rule? Do you want to live indulging the pleasures of life and to live a lustful life? Do you want a beautiful dress? Do you want to live without boundaries? Do you want to live deliciously? And at this point, we don't see the transformation from goat into man, but you see that her eyes are following something that's walking in front of her. And all of a sudden, behind her, you see an actual figure of a man dressed in black clothes that are really nice. That are also, I don't know if you noticed, not fitting of this time period at all. Like
No,
the
I
clothes that
didn't.
you see him dressed in are not clothes that anybody has at this time in history. This would have been like in the future. Basically like nice leather pants with button snaps and these big black boots that are not set in this period of time. And I thought that was interesting because it kind of says whatever that evil force is, it's timeless. You know what I mean? I thought that was a nice touch.
To check it out.
So he transforms into a man and says, remove the rest of your clothes. You need to be naked. So she drops the rest of her clothes. And then he says, now you see a book in front of you. I need you to sign your name in that book, which it's the devil's book. This is also in the Bible. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't know that. They're like, where the fuck did they get that? I'm like, do you go to Sunday school? It's in the Bible. Devil's book. He wants her to sign her name in it. She says, I can't sign my name because I can't read and I don't know how to write my name. And so he says, don't worry about it. I'll guide your hand. So he takes her hand and signs her name into the book. Right.
Is it with her own blood or something like that?
No, they don't really show. They don't really show. You see the book. I like this scene for a few reasons. There's a little bit of a callback to Evil Dead. I don't know if any of you guys caught that. But the book that's laying on the ground has pages in it that look like they're made from human skin and written in blood.
Like
So
the
I'm like,
Necronomicon.
fucking Necronomicon, all right.
Probably.
Yeah. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. So she signs the book, and then we kind of get a scene of her walking naked through the woods following Black Phillip, right? So
Yeah.
Satan, or whatever this force is transformed back into a goat and is leading her into the woods. She goes into the woods, comes upon this coven of naked women, witches, that
On
are all
fire.
dancing in front of a fire, and her look on her face while all this is happening is scared, but also kind of bewildered and also happy at the same time. Like
Yeah.
you get all three.
Mm.
And she's watching this happen and slowly steps into the circle. The women that are in the circle around the fire kind of rise into the air, start floating, and she herself starts floating into the air with them and becomes a witch, basically, is what we're supposed to think. That's the end. Cut in the movie, right? I kind of felt like, at least for this part, this was her liberation. Does that make sense?
In the end, she was actually until no, not completely without sin. That's not true. But
Was she, though?
No, that's what I'm thinking now. She lied once at least. But but yeah, definitely. Like
She lied.
she had nothing at this point. So do you want to join us? Said Satan. Hell yeah, she said. It's kind of
I mean, I was happy with the fucking ending, dude. Like, I like the
Yeah, that was
fact
good,
that
maybe
I like the
one.
fact that it was left ambiguous enough for everybody to kind of make their own decision about what happened.
But
What
also
I
maybe
got
the
from
only
it,
non-biblical thing in the entire movie. Like everyone had this like biblical resolution almost, but
Yeah.
she had basically was liberated from that in the end. And
yeah, she was liberated from
transcended
religious
that,
oppression. That's what I got from it.
kind of
One, if you watch her character throughout the movie, she doesn't do anything that even somebody who is not religious or even the most religious of people could consider evil. She didn't do anything throughout the entire movie.
Well, no.
What?
I mean, the thing she did with the young girl, at the creek, a few people might see it evil. No.
yeah, that was not nice. You should have not said that. This kind of
Maybe not, but in terms of like the Bible, is that actually a sin? I mean, like, how many of you have tormented your brothers or sisters? We all have siblings, right?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
I need to check.
A little bit of that is called for, right? Especially if they're being little shits like these two fucking kids were this entire film. I'm sorry, but she's a fucking saint. She's a saint. Because like I told you, Mike, I would have drowned both of them.
Yeah, I know.
I would
I
have
know.
drowned them both because they were nothing but fucking annoying the entire movie. Fucking annoying kids. So they were annoying the whole film. That might be the only thing that you could say maybe went a little bit overboard. But even that's not bad. He was the only character that didn't really show a sin. And I think what he was trying to point at is the fact that she is a young woman who is now starting to develop. She's automatically evil because she's a female, because she is temptation in the flesh. And the
A
Bible
lot
goes
of
on and
lot of
on and
those
on about that.
themes in the movie too.
Yeah.
They remind her that she's now starting to come into puberty.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. We're talking about sending her off to the other.
Yeah,
family.
sending her, exactly. It was also a very normal thing. It's like, yeah, that's the thing. Separation from your mother is something they saw as kind of the thing that made you a woman in many of those days. So yeah, sending them off. But she wouldn't. She did not listen to her father and mother. That's kind
No.
of her sin, I guess.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting that the one character that got blamed for everything in the film is the one character that didn't do anything wrong and just happens to be a pubescent female.
Yeah.
Like that rings true with most of society even nowadays. Like especially in a religious context. This is one of those things that maybe I'm stepping out of bounds here a little bit, but people that say religion is a good thing, or they say that, religion teaches you morals about reality that are super important. I'm sorry, but everything in any religious book is very anti-female. It just is. It's
For the most part,
very
Yeah.
frauenfeindlich. I don't really know any other word for it. And to be a woman who can support a lot of the things that are in these religious texts, be it, Islam or Christianity, there's a lot of cognizant dissonance there. This movie kind of showcases that, and I really like that.
Yeah.
How the man
Overall,
should be the
do you guys
one
have
on
any
top.
thing that you think actually happened? What we were seeing, what do you think actually happened, or are you taking the movie at face value?
Yeah.
Because there's a
That's
couple
kind-
different scenarios of what could have actually happened and what we were seeing.
Yeah,
maybe
because
that.
maybe for like, cause no one but Thomasin really saw or like talked to, like, from the parents' view. There was nothing supernatural going on at all. Their kids just kept disappearing, and Thomasin was the only culprit. So maybe it was something with her that, maybe she was the culprit.
There's several different things, and Eggers
Maybe.
said that he left it ambiguous for a reason because he wanted people to draw their own conclusion. There's several. There's a disease that happens to corn, right? When it is sick, it gets attacked by a fungus that causes the entire crop to die. That fungus is also highly hallucinogenic.
Yeah.
And so this family was feeding themselves with corn that had that in it. And so there were possibly a lot of hallucinations going on. Specifically, the scenes we saw with the witch, the scenes we saw that seemed supernatural, a lot of that could have been in the mind of the father or the main characters throughout the film.
That's what really didn't come to full circle until kind of Black Phillip started talking. And then so like, okay. But still at that point, it's like, is it still in her head? Because there's no other characters there to verify this.
Right.
So,
Exactly. It could have all been in her head. The other
there's
thing
no
is,
point where there's two characters who kind of see the same weird shit going on.
Yeah.
Really? So
the other thing is, if you are on the verge of starving, you have been eating very little for weeks or months even, you are not psychologically in a place where you're thinking correctly. And through many psychological tests that have been done, if you hold a religious background, if you hold a belief in a deity or a set of rules in a book, you are more likely to lean into those the more badly you feel, or the more that you psychologically start to de-evolve. And so what you get here is a family who are not eating correctly, they're malnourished, they're sick, they de-evolve into their beliefs, and they tend to imagine things that are not actually happening. It happens all the time. So a lot of this is just because...
That is definitely a good recipe for a family weekend.
Right. And that. So it
Starve
could
and
just
hallucinate.
easily be that, they disappeared into the woods that one time, and they're so fucking malnourished and not thinking correctly that they went the wrong way. The scene that we saw with the witch is kind of something that was probably in the mind of somebody else in the house. That might not actually be what happened. Because when he came back, the child came back, he was out of his fucking mind, which is exactly what happens when you don't eat and you're not getting enough water. You're delirious and you start to see things, and eventually you die. So honestly, there's a lot of things that could have happened in this film that actually happened, and a lot of things that we saw that didn't happen. My take from it is that what we saw actually happened.
I do
That's
it
what I
the
get,
same
because
way
I
too.
don't think we would have been shown the witch. I don't think we would have been shown the ending or any of that stuff
Probably not,
unless
yeah.
it was actually happening.
Yeah, I agree. But I like the ambiguosity.
Yeah.
But also, in order to make a movie like this, you kind of need a plot and not just have a bunch of religious gibberish, I guess.
Right.
But it's kind of, undertones of horror movie with a lot of I guess the only reason why there's so many religious undertones is because the family is really religious and is filtering it all and talking about it through a religious view. So we also kind of end up seeing it in a religious view.
You have to, because that's the context of the movie. That's the context of the
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah.
Ultimately, whether you like it or not, you're stuck in that context.
If we watch the movie again, but we censor all religious phrases, so we don't know what to say about the religious phrases, maybe we will see the movie in a completely different light.
Overall thoughts on the movie? What did you guys think? Like, if you had to go 1 to 10, what would you give it?
I would give it a 7 or 7.5 for me. Actually, I think the soundtrack is excellent.
Dude.
It gives. We haven't talked about it. I don't know if we need to talk about it, but it's very. It's perfect. It's extremely subtle and it's not very brutal, and that kind of works really well for the movie. It's always this like eerie undertone.
Which is what
The
he's
acting
good at.
is excellent, I would say.
Yeah.
For the most part, definitely.
What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, well, in general, it's a good movie. Yeah, I liked it. They're just the only thing I have to say about it is I think just it's extremely slow paced. No, and that's why when the first time I watched it, I fell asleep. Not because it's a bad movie, just the pacing is so slow sometimes that, you kind of feel like throughout the movie, very often is something going to happen. And if not, if the pacing was kind of differently in the movie, I think I would give it a 10 out of 10. It's just kind of the pacing that kind of takes the enjoyment away from me. But still, overall, it's a very good movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's why I can't really give it a higher. 7.5 is good because, again, the pacing. And I know for a fact that it's, as you said, it's not for everyone. If you expect like a horror movie, then this pacing will probably kill, or maybe kill it for some people. But especially with the religious undertones, I think it's a pretty good to watch. I will watch it again.
Well, I mean, this is my 3rd time seeing it. I mean, I absolutely love this film. I'm not bothered by a slow pace as long as the pace has a reason to it. And if you're trying to show me something with the slow pace, and you're trying to let it sink in, because sometimes with horror movies especially, you have to feel feelings. And if you cut from one thing to another so quickly and keep the audience on their toes, then they don't have time to feel.
Yeah, you need the
And
suspense.
Eggers is brilliant at getting you to feel what's going on in every scene, and I really appreciate that.
But the thing is, when it comes to pacing, in a lot of different movies, even horror movies, the pacing changes. Sometimes it's faster and sometimes it's slower. But that's the thing. In this movie, every scene the pacing is just slow.
I think that's kind of the appeal of it also.
Yeah.
Make this really, really slow burn.
Yeah.
So if this movie was metal, it would be doom metal.
Yeah, it would be like
Definitely.
something. My Dying Bride. You could sing about Crowley.
It's just got that slow, like, I don't know, like stomping. Be more depressed. Be more depressed. Like one chord for 10 seconds and then another chord for another. Exactly.
And
I love the movie, dude. Like, and I'll probably watch it again. This is one of the ones that I really wanted to watch with my mom because she's a minister and she catches things that even I don't catch because she's deeper into the text and deeper into kind of everything that went into the Bible. And she'll see something that I won't and be like, hey, how's it? Do you know what this from? This is what they're
Yeah,
talking about. So
yeah,
this is
yeah.
one of those movies I'm actually gonna sit down with my mom and watch because she will probably like blow my mind with the symbolism in this film.
Yeah, that's also if
And I
you have
think
no
that's
idea
what
about
this film
Christianity.
needs. Yeah, I think that's what this film needs to be able to enjoy it, is maybe kind of like an understanding of Christianity and an understanding of the text and the passages, and then it can be really interesting. Definitely not for everybody, though. Yeah, I'd give it a 9. Just like
Well,
most of Eggers' movies, I'd give it a 9. I think the only one that he did that I didn't really particularly care for, but I just have to be honest about it, is The Northman.
I haven't watched it actually.
That movie bore me to death.
Yeah, I've heard
Have
it's
you not
also kind of
watched it?
slow paced. No, I haven't.
God.
I heard about it, but I haven't seen it. Yeah.
I'm not going to say don't waste your time, but I would not go into it thinking that it's going to be an action-packed film. It's not.
Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot of religious overtones or undertones. It's mostly like Norse mythology. It comes from an older Norse story that they kind of rebuilt and redid. It wasn't bad. It was beautifully filmed, but it just wasn't. It didn't really capture my interest quite like this one did. But yeah, that's it, man.
Yes.
Anybody got anything else they want to say?
No, about the movie or in general?
Just in general, man. If you want to if you want to plug some stuff, this is a good
Plug some
opportunity to
stuff.
plug some stuff.
Well, have you guys heard about Texas Cornflake Massacre? That's one thing I want to.
Yeah, we've yeah, here and
Fuck
there I've
those
heard
guys.
about it. A little
Fuck those
bit,
posers, man. Those guys are not metal. Those guys are not metal.
It's just
No.
clowns, man.
Yeah, they're not metal, and they fucking suck as shit. You know, dude.
Yeah, dude.
You know that those dumbasses actually dress themselves up as zombies and go on stage as zombies.
Dude,
Super
that's what I've
cringe.
heard. And they throw
Yeah,
fucking cornflakes
I
on the
mean-
crowd. What the
Yeah.
fuck?
What?
Who comes up with shit like that?
Yeah, complete
idiot.
fucking morons come up with shit like that. That's what I can tell you.
Alcohol-induced
Dude,
delirium.
even worse, I heard that they were metalcore.
It's horrible.
Yeah. I've heard
that
everybody
they're
said they
metalcore.
used to be metalcore, and then they stopped. You know, and one time they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna do death metal now because they're just
Bunch of fucking posers from Germany. Anyway, so for anybody that is in Germany or anybody that maybe is close to Germany and wants to see a show coming up where you can actually catch all of us on stage at once, because I've heard that Fabian might actually be there too and may actually come on stage and do a song with us, or maybe two. I
Come
don't
on
know.
stage
That's
and
what I
kick
mean.
my
It-
boogers.
If you happen to be around Hessen on the 15th of June, then there's going to be a big show for the 45th anniversary of one of the biggest metal clubs here in Hessen.
Yeah.
So we got that up on our website. If you can make it down, please make it down and show up. Or maybe you want to send us a message and let us know that you're going to come. Maybe we can actually make something work out for you. But we had Fabian on stage with us at Midgard's Blood, like I said, and it was a fucking great show. And I can't wait to
Plenty
do
of
it again.
pictures.
Yeah, and we're gonna drag your
Yeah,
mom to the
yeah,
show
that was
too.
awesome.
Yeah, it was fucking great. We're gonna drag your mom to the show too because we know how much she loves metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has become a metalhead. But yeah, no,
But yeah, that's it. I hope everybody enjoyed the episode. If you have another movie that you guys want us to do and you want us to gut, we will do it. Just keep in mind, we're probably only gonna have one very special guest like Fabian on once a month.
Probably.
But if you want us to do a film that you're interested in seeing ripped apart and made fun of, or actually treated nicely the way that we did this film, just let us know in the comments. This will come out tonight on Spotify, and then tomorrow we actually have the YouTube version of the show that comes out. So drop us a like, drop us a follow, leave us some comments. And thanks, everybody. Fabian, do you want to say goodbye? Do anything stupid?
yeah, well, thank you guys. It was a pleasure. My first time doing anything like this, so that was fun. Hopefully,
It was fun to have you
more
on
in the
the
future.
show.
Yeah,
And
thanks
yeah,
for
check
coming, bro.
out Fleshmeadow, check out Trollfest, and check out these guys' podcasts in the future, or else.
And
So yeah,
I'll drop some
that's-
links to both bands in the post too, so you guys can click on it and check it out. But thanks, and we'll see you guys next time. This is Matt.
This is Mike. Yeah.
this is Fabian.
Yeah.
See you guys
later.
Bye.
The blackest dies. The devil's die. Plain and simply,